The recent high school graduate disappeared over Memorial Day weekend while working on his farm in a remote area of Utah. And since then, search teams have spent more than 300 hours covering thousands of miles of land. But there has been no sign of Dylan.
If there's anything in here like a dead body, I'll freak.
I think what we're looking for is we need to start looking at mine shafts or a burial place out there. The only way we're going to find that, if it was on the surface somewhere, we would see a cloud of ravens. We'd see that from miles away. So it has to be underground somewhere. If it's a mine shaft, we will see lots of coyote tracks and lots of ravens hanging around the mine shaft, but they won't go down.
Okay, go ahead and step away.
There's something dead in there.
On the 30th of May 2022, while Deputy Wells is stationed within his patrol vehicle, he remains completely unaware that within a few hours he will be the first to respond to a call involving a disturbing and mysterious disappearance deep within the remote desert of Lucin, Utah, a situation that will require the involvement of various agencies, including the FBI.
The Box Elder Sheriff's has said this is now a criminal investigation.
Correct.
What does that mean to you all?
It's terrible. It's terrifying, but it's also got us the help we need.
Yeah, finally. The FBI's got involved. It feels like something's going to happen now.
Dylan Rounds, a 19-year-old who recently acquired 640 acres of land with his grandfather Larry's help, had moved to Lucin, Utah to chase his lifelong ambition of farming.
That farm was his life. People told him he couldn't. Everybody told him. It's like, why is he out there? There's no way he's going to get a crop. That's insane. Well, he did it. And that was his drive. He's like, I'll prove you wrong. You can tell me I can't grow this crop out here and watch me go. So he's not going to walk away from it.
After 2 days without news from Dylan, his parents, Candice and Justin, made the trip from Idaho to Utah, where they met with the Box Elder County Sheriff's Department in the vast openness of the Lucin Desert. Upon Deputy Wells' arrival, he is welcomed by Dylan's parents, who are accompanied by friends of Dylan's grandfather, Donald Hatley and James Brenner. Both Hatley and Brenner reside in the Lucin Desert and have been assisting Dylan with his farming project.
Hi, Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Justin, Dylan's dad.
Hi, Justin.
So right up here at these yards is his last known location. His camper is about 4 miles back up this way by his pond, and we're really thinking he might have taken off and gone across. Because there's been no phone calls on his phone.
Yeah, no. I did get a few.
Okay.
The last location was 15.4 miles from the phone line tower, okay, which puts him on this back road.
So would that hit him walking? Okay, I know my son, and that's the shortest route to his camp.
If he walked,
that road ends right out there.
If he walked, he would cut across this field.
But that's as close as cell phone, Pete. Not in town, it's out here.
Mm-hmm. Off of that road, the back road into the compound.
Can we go down to where it is?
Yeah,
it ends out there to one cabin.
But that's where the ping was.
That's where the ping was.
He was out there?
Yeah.
So are you guys,
Bill, Don's grandfather? I'm the guy that supposed to keep an eye on you.
So, what's your name? Don and Jim Brenner.
I've been down to his place twice. Went down yesterday afternoon, looked around. Hadn't been in there. His picket's locked. All these pickets were supposed to be there.
Was the trailer open?
He never locks it. He doesn't lock anyway. Today I took Jim down there with me and we did a little more thorough search.
And he wasn't in the camper? Doesn't look like anybody's been around?
Nope. I checked the been raining off and on since Saturday, so any fresh patch was kind of mushed out.
Yeah.
He was on that back road down there. We had to go look that way. I didn't realize it.
I don't know how. Can you guys show us? I mean,
I don't know how we would do it though, and he had the green truck.
No, walking.
That doesn't mean that's his exact location. That's the closest cell phone
That's
ping.
the last ping for whether we tried to use it or the last location to update it before it died.
What time was that? Does it tell you?
And that was at 14:58.
So right after.
So just before 3 o'clock.
Right after you left. So he must have pulled in right behind you, dropped off the grain truck, and I'm telling you, I bet you he took off walking.
How do we get to that road from? So we don't have to go all the way back to Lucin Pond and over.
No, I guess we will. Okay.
I'll find it.
James Brenner lives approximately 5 miles away from Dillon, making him Dillon's nearest neighbour. This location is significant, as it is the last known whereabouts of Dillon, who made a phone call to his grandmother at 6:51 a.m. on May the 28th. During this call, he informed her that he was taking his grain truck to Brenner's property for shelter due to the rain.
In the timeline, as we moved to May 28th, Saturday, that's when he had the phone conversation with Karen at 6:51 in the morning. Yes. And said he couldn't talk to Grandma because he had to get his grain truck in the shed because it was raining. Now, Dylan's grain truck that he keeps a seed in does have a tarp, but it has holes in it.
Yeah.
So the rain can still get into the seed and move it, and he was frantic about getting his grain truck into the shed. That was the last communication from Dylan with anyone.
Karen called me and said she was worried about Dylan. I went, yeah, don't worry about it. Dylan's always... She said, no, you don't understand. You know, Dylan always calls me back. I knew she was really worried. She said, you know, will you go out and check? And I said, yeah, I'll check tomorrow. And then I realized how worried she was after we talked some more. So I went right out there Sunday afternoon and I called her while I was there. I said, you know, he's not in the trailer and he's not in any of the equipment and his truck is here and his truck is locked. And that's weird because Dylan never locks his truck. And then the next day, Karen asked me to go out again, take an inventory of the equipment, and look around again, and I asked Jim if he wanted to take a ride.
A cell phone ping indicates that Dylan's last recorded phone location is situated 15.14 miles southwest of the nearest cell tower. This information, while not highly precise, suggests that Dylan's last known phone activity occurred at 2:58 p.m. on May the 28th. Based on the existing information, Dylan's family suspects that he may have sustained an injury whilst walking home from Brenner's.
From that fence?
Yep.
And that's his property?
4 miles from that fence.
Throwing the fence is his property? No, he doesn't own 4 miles.
No, he's just got that one section down there. But it's 4 miles from this fence down to his...
Is that the last fence from his property?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, that's the old fence across the road that's down all the way out on the road, so yeah.
It's down?
Well, out on the main road,
Oh.
that part of it's down. The other side of that fence, it looks just like that right there.
All this weed stuff?
Yeah, it's because I come in that way from his place.
Search and rescue have a drone?
Yeah, they got a couple of them. Whether if they can fly it in the wind, I don't know. I think it's good up to like 20 mile an hour wind, so this should be fine. And they got four-wheelers and all sorts of
How
toys.
far away are they?
When I talked to them to see if they wanted us to come down the road or not, they were just at other side of Snowville Flats.
They got any way
So
of
about an hour.
phone?
No, it went 15.14 miles from the tower, southwest, which puts it here, off of that road. Just as you come over the Lucin Pond and you use the back way here, it right in that area.
So it would have to be from here that way.
So somewhere from here that way. But if it died and he kept walking or
Right.
whatever he did, Once it's dead.
Is there any steep terrain or steep stuff, or is it just this brush?
Well, there's a couple of little washes that are 4 or 5 foot deep. Nothing that gets fall down.
Like I said, I can't picture him doing this.
If he didn't have a ride, he'd do it.
Not when it's easier to walk up that road. This is.
Dylan would take a pet across.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Dylan
He
would
would?
take the show.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
He's all about exploring.
Yes, that's what he
That
he
mountain
would.
over there, Pigeon
Mm-hmm.
Mountain, he's been to the top of that.
Yeah. He would definitely walk this. This is nothing for him.
Well, only other thing we can do is go check his trailer and then meet with Search and Rescue.
He's down there, that's what we want to do. Maybe that's what we should do.
Let's go look at his trailer. Let's
Yeah.
see if his guns are there. Can you pick his lock on his truck?
I don't have a lockout kit in this truck.
Can we break the window?
Well, it's my pickup. I'll break it.
Yeah.
If it's your pickup, I'm not going to say what you can and can't do.
Although Dylan's mother and father think Dylan would have taken the most direct route home, Brenner, who is more familiar with the location, thinks Dylan may have taken the back roads. While they wait for the search and rescue team to arrive, the family, along with Deputy Wells, proceed to Dylan's property to investigate if anything appears unusual. Upon reaching Dylan's property, his father has already shattered the window of Dylan's pickup, where he discovers something strange.
Guns in there.
No guns in there?
Like I said, he has a 40 that he puts in the door on the side, and then he has a shotgun. No guns in either of the trailers. We're looking.
Did you just pop the back window?
I broke it out.
After breaking the rear window to check inside, the family finds that Dylan's firearms are missing, a situation they consider highly unusual.
I can't make any more. I can make sense of him walking across the desert back to the camper, but I can't make sense of the guns being on that kid. Always has his guns. Always. Since the time he is 18, I mean, he had them before he was old enough to carry one. He always has his guns. And his shells are gone too.
The evidence suggests that the firearms may have been taken unlawfully, and it becomes increasingly apparent that the region has seen a rise in violent incidents related to firearm theft.
We saw him on a regular basis, and lately, the past month and a half, there's been a lot of really violent break-ins, like armed robbery style type stuff. We had a lot of stuff stolen, and we had a neighbor get his camper broke into, and he was beat half to death, and they left him for dead. They stole all of his guns and all of his stuff, and the sheriff wouldn't help anybody. We had a bunch of, they tried to steal our Bobcats and stuff. There's a group of people I can give you names of that we've got figured out of who was involved.
Yeah.
That should probably be talked to.
Two names, Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles, are mentioned by locals for their association with this violent activity, indicating that they may be connected to Dylan's disappearance.
Anything we need to know about either? Well, you don't know Dylan, obviously, but Chase. Other than he's a little thief.
He threatens if the cops come after him, he's going to shoot, have a shootout.
Did he steal the guns?
I don't know. That's just what I've heard.
They use him? Does he use drugs?
Probably. Because people he hung around with before.
And he told me, another thing that struck me funny, he told me it was locals that did it. And I don't know how he got that information, but that kind of just bothered me, you know. I don't like anybody coming in, you know, beating somebody down and taking their guns, you know what I mean? It's just not, it really bothered me. And, and then when Robert said Chase, he took him there with a bunch of guns. So that, you know, that just all coincidentally lining up to me, that doesn't sound good. Yeah. You know, and these two guys are bad, they're not.
I've been talking, well, Chase has been involved in, Boyd over here got robbed. A guy by the name of Michael Moore got robbed. This is all, Boyd got robbed last year. Michael Moore got robbed last fall. Danny over here on the other side of Don, he got nailed 2 years ago, and the sheriff's department figured it was 6 vehicles, because what they didn't steal, they run over all this shit, and it's coming right from the other side of that mountain. they know all the trails coming over here. And Chase is the ringleader of it.
Furthermore, Dylan might have recently earned a significant amount of money while working as a custom farmer for a nearby ranch, which may have been discovered by the local community, making him susceptible for robbery.
The Dan Iverson guy said he gave him a check on Wednesday for $30,041. And
For the work he's doing?
well, he's doing it with his own machinery. My son's taking
Oh.
machinery and doing it. So it's pretty easy to make.
Oh, okay. I was like, geez, I want to work for this
It's not
guy.
that he's making a lot of money because he's buying his fuel and stuff. You know what I mean? And buying the tractor and the drill, all that's not Dan's.
Right. Makes sense.
And he says, this Jim guy says that Dylan been in town at the bar, whatever, bragging about how much money he makes and this and that.
In an effort to locate Dylan before nightfall, the search and rescue team initiates grid searches of the vicinity. However, shortly into the operation, boots are discovered near a dirt mound that sits approximately 100 metres away from the grain truck that would later be identified as belonging to Dylan. Notably, just a month earlier, another 19-year-old from the local community, Aidan Clune, was reported missing. To date, he has not been located, with only his shoes having been recovered.
Yeah, just those two boots out there, they're brand new. Like they've only been out there. They're the same color leather as your boots, and they're the same ones he wears. So we're just curious of why his boots would be out there. Same size he wears. They've only been out there probably for a day or two. So we're just curious of, does he ride horses? Dylan?
I think he's got a horse, but I don't think he rides
it.
He likes riding tractors. He might have threw him out there. I don't know.
Maybe he did. Well, does he know that's a dump out there? He does?
He's got electronics and shit in there.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, if you dig around in there, you'll find old power inverters that he wiped out. So maybe, I don't know. Because like I say, he was here. He had to have been here. Brought the truck here.
Yeah. Huh, that would make sense.
As night descends, the search for Dylan is postponed until the following day. Given that the Lucin Desert spans more than 40,000 acres of challenging landscape, the investigation requires fresh leads to identify possible search locations. One promising place to gather additional information is the Saddle and Cowboy Bar in Montello, where Dylan had established a friendship with the Wadsworth family, particularly Kurt Wadsworth. The next morning, deputies visit the bar in hopes of obtaining more details.
Color 446. Southern Miami Bike.
We're trying to find a kid named Dylan Rounds.
Oh, I know. We got locals out here looking for him too. They went out that way because he was out to Lucin. That's where he was staying, and he lives in Idaho, I think. It's another one. Yeah, there's 3 or 4
Yeah, they're all, we got search and rescue out trying to find them. We'll get a timeline on when the last time he would have been seen.
Yeah, when did you all see him last? Do you remember?
I can't remember when he was, of course.
Like a week?
It's probably been about that, yeah, because he usually came in at 8.
Who does he spend time with? Who does he hang out with here?
My son, but he's one out there looking for him too.
Is that the only one, or is there someone
No,
else?
there's 2 or 3 other guys too, but all went out.
Oh no, I meant, does he just hang out with your son, or is there another person that you might know?
Well, he worked out at the ranch, I think, for a while, and he worked for Dan Iverson over there.
Okay.
So he hung out over there quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan Iverson has a ranch over there, and he did a lot of work for him, so.
Okay.
And I don't know, like, when Dan lost somebody either, he did work for him, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to pinpoint where he might have gone. He's been missing a couple days.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I was hearing Kurt say something about he had a confrontation with that Chase kid.
Yeah, that's who I'm looking for. Where do we find him?
I'm kind of worried about it because if Dylan did walk back from where he left the grain truck and Chase got a hold of him vulnerable, you know what I mean? He was walking back, something bad could have happened because there was a bad injury with a kid just out here that got his face smashed in by the butt of a gun. And
According to the bartender, Dylan reportedly had a confrontation with Chase Venstra on the Wednesday prior to his disappearance.
Why was Chase and him having an issue, do you know?
well, this is what I heard. I heard that so Kurt told me, and I was just here, not told me, I was overhearing part of the conversation, saying that Dylan was just driving down the road and Chase stopped him and said, hey, you got some water? And he's like, hey, do you know Kurt? Da, da, da. And I guess they got in an altercation about that because Chase was like, Kurt's an asshole, da, da, da. And Dylan was like, no, he's not. You know, he's a good guy. I work for, do work for him, blah, blah, blah. There was an altercation. Then he went on his way. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken the conversation, that was the same day that he drove the grader, the grainer over to wherever and then whoever was there couldn't give him a ride back, so he possibly walked. That's all I know about the conversation.
Okay.
You might want to talk to Kurt about it.
Yes.
With this information, officers are extremely interested to locate Chase.
Where do we find Chase? Is he from here? Does he live here?
Yeah, he does. He doesn't. He's from around here. This is where he hangs out. Yes.
Staying out here, and he was
Where was he staying at?
big thief in town, and so everybody was after him, and they finally told him to get the hell out of town and stay the
Of course, he
hell out.
came back because he was just seen out here.
We don't know where he's been hanging out. He had a
What does he drive?
motorhome.
A motorhome?
Yeah.
Is it a bigger one? A small one?
I don't remember ever seeing it.
It's small.
I remember, where did they see him when he was out? Where did they see him when he was out in the gill suit?
Place out here.
So does he always drive the motorhome? He doesn't have any other vehicles?
I heard he found he's in a vehicle now.
He had a car when
Yeah.
his dad gave him or something. But
He's a goofy son of a bitch. I know that.
Later into the investigation, detectives learn that Chase has been committing crimes and travelling across the border to evade detection, and at this point they lack any information regarding his location. Back in the Lucin desert, search and rescue continue to search the area in hopes to detect any signs that might assist them in locating Dylan.
Where are you looking? Oh, right here. We've had so much rain.
Sorry, Charlie 712 on LZ1.
We've had a lot of rain and stuff since Saturday, so it's hard. Traffic restoring.
The 19-year-old operates his own farm in a remote area of Box Elder County.
Despite numerous searches, there's been no sign of rounds. Every person missing has a family, and for them, the search continues.
Following the unsuccessful search and rescue efforts to locate Dylan on the second day, detectives returned to Dylan's last known location to speak with James Brenner.
Move that out of the way. I got that there so my horse don't get in there.
Oh, okay.
See what he did when Dylan backed in, he must have been in a hurry. He knocked my stall. I had a
Oh, I see the broken wood.
I had a post right here, and this was the gate, and he backed into it and busted out. So I don't want my horse running around in the shop.
Right.
He moved all my stuff over. I was building a chicken coop right here. He was in a hurry, and because I guess it was raining, he wanted to get this under cover. But,
Is there something in this?
yeah, there's tetracal.
Okay.
As well as indicating that Dylan was in a hurry, James is about to tell detectives information that could further implicate Chase Venstra.
Robert Avila is another one.
So Dylan ran into Chase on the Tacoma Road?
And I guess Chase got a ride out here. I just heard this. I don't know if you guys questioned him or Elko County, but they questioned Robert Avila.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave him a ride to the pond.
Gave Chase a ride to the pond.
Yes.
Yeah.
James reports to detectives that Chase was in the area close to where Dylan went missing. He indicates that Robin Alvarez drove Chase to Lucin Pond, which is near Dillon's residence. Further questioning of local citizens supports this claim.
So if he gave him a ride to Lucin early that morning, that place is Robert and Chase. Right there in Lucin, right at that approximate time, basically when he was missing. And he said he ran out of gas there. Now, I guess he had a quad there or something there. Now, what he was doing there prior, I don't know. But he also said he had a bunch of guns.
Chase?
Yeah, the robber was talking about Chase?
Chase, yeah. Okay. That he took him to Lucin and he had a bunch of guns because he came back to the house there and was helping Annie cook the dinner for my girl. And it just put two and two together, and I was like, that place is them right there at the approximate time that, this kid is missing. And that's too coincidental for me.
Later that evening, officers receive a disturbing call from Dillon's family, informing them that they have received information suggesting that Dillon is being held at Robert Aviles' residence.
Hey, Sarge. Hey, so we're standing outside of the, what is it called? The saddle store. Yeah, we're standing outside the saddle store as a group of people here, a bunch of family members. So the phone was pinged out here. They have reason to believe that Chase Venstra and that other gentleman, that he might be in the house. So we're waiting for you and then more backup before we go and approach that. Okay, 10-4, Sarge. 10-4. What's your 20? Okay, cool. We'll be right here. Alright, Sarge. You'll see us.
Whilst deputies wait for backup, Troy Wadsworth has gone to Robert's house to make sure nobody leaves the residence.
Okay.
They called me today and they're talking to you?
Yeah. He's in the house asleep then. He's sick.
Robert?
Yep. So she's telling on him. There you go, boys.
Okay, thank you.
So I didn't want her to be aware of anything, so I drove away. She wasn't concerned. But he's in the house for sure.
There you go.
Cool. That means she's not going anywhere. Right?
Well, she just told him that.
I understand.
She's scared to death, and she doesn't want to go to jail too. So, because
Okay.
she's an accessory to this bullshit. So anyway, that's the point.
Who's this?
Anyway, he's in there, so you got the word.
Is that your brother?
Yeah.
He's in the house down there. Robert.
Okay, thank you.
She'll let you in, it sounds like. She'll let you in.
I'm sure she will. We'll see.
She parked there. She came out and talked to me, and I said, well, we're just concerned. I said, there's somebody missing. I said, can you have him call the sheriff when he gets up? She says, yeah, he's sick in bed right now. He's going
Better
up all
roll
night.
fast, because he'll bolt out the back door. She goes to tell him.
As Robert's mother becomes aware of the Sheriff Department's desire to interview her son, deputies express concern that he may try to evade them. They quickly formulate a plan prior to visiting the home.
Okay, well, we're looking for a gentleman who reported missing and in danger.
I don't know who that would be.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
supposed
but
to
I
be-
have no idea.
He's supposed to be hanging out with a guy named Chase.
And Robert.
Okay, I don't know. Chase might have an idea, but my son's been homesick. And he's been in bed all day, and he's been home all night. I don't know. I'm just wondering.
So who's all
You
in your
know?
house?
Nobody.
Nobody's in there right now?
No. Nobody's here right now. My son is in his trailer.
And where's that
and
at?
In the backyard.
In the backyard?
Yeah. And he's sleeping because he was sick all night. And I'm just wondering
Well,
what's happening.
we're just trying to find out where
And
this
no,
kid
no
is.
one came home with him.
Nobody came home with him?
No,
Okay. Is Chase here?
no. I don't let Chase on.
Understand that. We're not here to harass
We're not
him.
here to harass.
We were told that there's a possibility that this
kidnapping.
missing kid.
Oh, being
is
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Hostage-
you can feel free to
hostage
look around if
Hostage
you'd
situation, like he's not being
No,
held.
I-
See, that's why we're here, ma'am. I mean,
No.
that,
We're not here
that's,
to
You can
harass.
come
we're not
in
here
if
to
you want,
harass.
but-
We got to report that somebody's being
So
held
we bet you
hostage.
don't
I thought it
mind-
was about the car.
Oh God.
No,
You
no,
know,
it's
and
not
I'm
about
like,
a car.
okay, the car. I know. I got to get it back. I will, and
This
I
is
can get
not
to
about
it.
a car.
This is
But
not about
you
a car.
can look around if you want to. But there's
Is that
no
okay?
one here
That would be
but my
okay.
son, and he's sleeping.
If that'd be okay.
If that would be okay.
That'd be super helpful for us. And we'll Robert, are you all by yourself? You care if I come in and talk to you real quick? You're not in any trouble or anything. We just need to make sure this kid's found.
Okay, come talk to him so they know that you didn't steal this kid. My son's been sick, like I said, all night. He's been sick. Ellen's son. Ellen?
I don't know, he's about... I know of him, but I don't know who he is. I know he's kind of my brother.
Deputies speak with Robert, who admits to giving Chase a ride to Lucin, but denies having any knowledge of Dylan's disappearance. Despite this, deputies continue to search the property.
This one is, I believe, one of these kind of keys. I'm not sure. I do have a key, I just don't know. Because, like I said, I have to change locks when the cops came last week or whatever, looking for somebody. I'm like, sure, you can come in, look around.
Who are they looking? Who are they looking for?
Who were they looking for last time?
I don't know.
Oh.
Chase, I guess.
Oh.
Okay, you're gonna have a hard time seeing in here because it is dark.
Yeah.
And there's no power out here or anything. And of course you can tell I got a little bit of a mess in here too. So
You're a little packed up.
yeah. But
Here, I'll
you
let you
can
hold your soda.
see it all back there. It's just full of junk.
Yeah, it is.
Because this is everybody's storage unit. My friends, mine,
Oh, they
my
all packed it
mom's,
full,
Mel. You know.
Nothing back there.
Nope. Look. You can maybe get through there.
No,
to
we're
get
good.
in there.
We're good.
We're
But
good, ma'am.
I'm gonna clean up one of
That
the
thing
things.
is full. Here.
Books, movies, whatever.
If you want to go ahead and close it up, I'll
But
stand here with the flashlight
I'm like,
for
do
you.
you know? Here you go. If there's anything in here like a dead body, I'll freak.
Nope. Just a bunch of tools and stuff. Is this
Yeah.
being used by your son a lot, or?
By both of us. I
Oh,
just
okay.
like to keep the tools in the car because if I ever break down, I might have to try to fix myself up.
Gotcha. No,
You know.
no worries.
Try to go prepared.
Yep.
Because out here you could die in the desert.
True.
You know, from being broke down or whatever.
Yep.
And I just like to be a little prepared. But
Okay.
Alright,
Yeah, appreciate that.
there ain't nothing but tools and shit in here.
Yeah. That's understandable.
No door, my friend.
And nothing back
Everybody
here
else
that
tells me go prepared again.
nothing back here that seems kind of odd or anything.
You can look. There's this, but this came out of our truck, so
Oh, okay.
that's over there, broken. But other than that, nope.
Just the handprints, huh?
I don't know.
That's kind of.
Oh, I think my son was trying to fix something, like my muffler, because it was hanging down. And he was putting baling wire on it, now that I think about it. That's probably why.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because once you
Makes
get under
sense.
there, it's kind of hard to get out.
For sure.
Yep.
Alright.
Alrighty.
But he
well,
was working on it yesterday.
After the deputies determine that there is no evidence of Dylan or Chase at the residence, they continue to the Saddle and Cowboy Bar to speak with the family.
Hi there. Well, we went through the house completely. We did? Yeah, we went through all the buildings on the property completely. No signs of anybody but her and her son. We didn't see anybody.
Her
else.
son is the Robbie Alvarez?
Yeah. He's sick in the trailer back there. Was laying down. He let me come in and search his whole trailer. And there ain't much to it. I mean, it's just a little tiny trailer. There's nothing hardly in there. We went through the house. The house is pretty confined as well. There was nothing inside the home. And then they have an outbuilding back there. It's just a big single wide trailer. And that thing's packed from the floorboards up to the ceiling with junk. There was nobody in there. And, she unpadlocked it for us, let us in, and yeah, no sign of anybody.
Did he say anything?
He doesn't even know. He thought we mentioned the name to him, and he thought we were talking about somebody else that lives on the street over next to the school, Dylan. He thought I was talking about a guy named Dylan Berg, who lives on the street next.
Did you ask him about the chase?
Yeah, we did. I asked the mom, and she said that Chase, she ran Chase out of there a while back because she got home and he was in her house, and she had to run him off, but she hasn't seen him since then.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
No, not a problem. We don't mind coming out.
We're just kind of in a need information state. We're just finding nothing. We're just coming up dead ends everywhere we turn.
After yet another failed attempt to locate Dylan, the investigation takes an additional 9 days before it begins to make any progress.
Wadsworth told me Dylan was in a camp trailer with a guy named Robert Avila and the Chase guy. They just keep going back to that. And they got
what's Chase's last name? Do you know his last name by any chance?
It's on Facebook. They have him arrested in Davis County. Chase
Venstra?
Venstra.
I've been looking for that dude.
He's arrested. I think he's in Davis County.
He's in Davis County? Okay.
He had a interaction with my son.
How come nobody tells me that?
But yeah, everybody says he's a horrible person.
Following Chase's arrest, due to an outstanding warrant, detectives are now in a position to question him about Dylan's disappearance. During the interview, Chase claims he was not in the Lucin area from May the 25th to June the 4th. Meanwhile, Robert Aviles, who is also in custody for an unrelated matter, is brought in for questioning.
Why did somebody call and report that you were holding Dylan at your house?
That's what I want to know.
Do you know who it was?
No.
Do you know why someone would do that?
Because they're trying to frame me for it, like I told you guys.
Well, I know, but you gotta realize everybody's saying shit like that too.
I know, because
that's why we're asking the questions we're asking.
I know, I understand that, and I'm trying to help you guys get the bigger picture. Look, I think Chase, Paul, Aaron, they did this shit. That's what I can tell you, because why else would they be trying to lure me to these places? Why else would they be trying to set me up? It felt like they were trying to set me up, man.
So when you gave Chase a ride to Lucin Pond,
yes,
did he tell you anything about what was going on, what he was doing?
Nothing.
Why he was having you to drop him off there?
He just said that he was out here to visit Aaron, and he needed to get his dad's forward back ASAP before his dad freaked out and whooped his ass.
After Robert informed the detectives that he had dropped Chase off at Lucin Pond, they promptly commenced a search of the vicinity. Utilising specialised rescue teams and divers, they successfully discovered Dylan's phone at the northern end of the pond. Subsequently, the detectives sought a geofence warrant for Chase's phone to ascertain his whereabouts during the time Dylan was believed to have gone missing. Meanwhile, the detectives obtained intriguing information concerning the Wadsworths.
was talking to my husband, and he said Greg told him that Kurt Wadsworth told him that he made Dylan disappear.
I've lived in that area. I remember when the Wadsworths come to town. First off, I want to tell you that I feel for you. I'm sorry your son's missing. I really am.
Yeah.
I believe the Wadsworths are involved.
Okay.
By everything I've read and seen, I'm pretty sure it has to be someone that knows him.
Yes.
It's someone that knows that Lucin area really well.
Yes.
It's someone that knows Montello really well.
Yes.
And the only person that fits that profile is Kurt. And between you and I, I'm not trying to offend you, but it's kind of common knowledge that Kurt and your son were living at the saddle store in that side room and in the back trailer for about the last year and a half, off and on. Not all the time, but off and on.
Okay.
Numerous rumours suggest that Kurt and Dylan might have been in a romantic relationship, with many individuals pointing to the Wadsworths' potential involvement in Dylan's disappearance. In addition to the town's suspicions, Dylan's father is also beginning to notice the Wadsworths' peculiar behaviour.
So we're heading this way. We see a blue Dodge. I've seen it in town. I didn't know whose it was really. And I saw Kurt driving it. My buddy yesterday they were stirred up like crazy. They were in and out, and I've been here since we came here on Monday from Fillmore, Utah, me and my daughter. I've been here since then, and I went home for a night or two, and then came back. I've never seen the town moving like that, and they were the three brothers moving all around. Anyway, I went to a fire meeting with the fire department and met some people, and my buddy has just been my shadow everywhere I go, and they're watching me like crazy. If I go anywhere, Kurt calls me. Anywhere, it don't matter where. He's always trying to figure out where I am. So we seen him coming there this morning. I stopped. My buddy knew right. He said that was Kurt. So did the guys. They came back. That was not Kurt. Sorry, Troy. That was Troy. So my buddy followed him. I called the guy that I talked with you, Brian.
Okay.
So he followed him. We figured we didn't all need to follow, I've been keeping in contact. He went into Wendover when he saw him fall, pulled off real fast, lost him. Then he called me a while ago and said, I know you got a guy following me. You can come search this cooler, trailer, just like that if you want.
Dylan's father has highlighted the Wadsworths' questionable actions and suggests that he suspects Dylan is located in a trailer being towed by Troy Wadsworth. Later that day, Troy is taken into custody and interrogated. Yet Dylan remains missing. While questioning Troy, the detective records images of wounds found on his arms that may indicate a violent conflict. Nonetheless, Troy is released from custody. As the investigation progresses, detectives revisit the Cowboy Bar owned by the Wadsworths to interview Troy again, but their arrival is met with hostility.
I know, but here's the thing. I want to be able to independently talk to you without kind of.
And you're from where?
I'm with the FBI. My name's Jeff Ross. What's your name?
Lionel.
Lionel? Yep. I guess there's a reason why when you interview people individually as opposed to. I don't have any information if you guys are specifically involved in Dylan's disappearance, but I want to be able to talk to you, and if there's something that, it just works out better. I don't care if you record it, I really don't. I'm going to record it as well. None of that stuff really bothers me. Obviously, our main goal in this is to find Dylan. And our reason for wanting to talk to you guys is more for background information in regards to individuals that frequent the area where Dylan ranched, Dylan hung out. I know he came back and forth here. And that's it. So if we can talk too long, I don't care.
Leave your phone still.
As far as I'll stay.
I can be quiet. I can do that.
That's not the reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, if you don't have a subpoena or something or a warrant,
I don't want
this is how we're going to do it. What? Hey, we are happy to help try and find Dylan. That'd be great.
Well, then
my uncle was friends with him, but
which uncle's that?
At the moment, we're getting a lot of attention
I
from
was
police that we don't
friends with him,
deserve.
but I don't
Okay,
like
so
it.
All right, so here's part of that.
Careful.
Here's part of that. As much as we want to find out who's responsible for it, we want to find out who's not responsible for it and make that known. And I'm willing to just be completely honest with you about everything. I have no reason to bullshit you or lie to you about anything. It's just good law enforcement practice when we can. And so if you understand that part, and then I would hope you would appreciate that, like, we're not here to cause trouble for you. Let me just ask you this. Why are you so suspicious of us?
Because he just got arrested 3 days ago and hasn't done anything wrong.
By whom?
5 days ago, it might be now, on Friday.
By the Utah Highway Patrol.
These people, the family, had him followed all the way there because he was hauling a trailer to get supplies for this bar. And instead of, he called him and offered, hey, would you like to look in the trailer in my truck box in my truck?
By the way, this bar reminds me of plenty of places that my dad and grandfather hung out at when I was a kid. So spent many days in bars like this doing
It was a box trailer closed in. So apparently he thought I had Dylan on there. I don't know what I was thinking.
And instead of them asking when he got pulled over.
18-year-old warrant for driving while suspended 18 years ago. If that's a good enough excuse, I guess that's what I got.
All right. We're not gonna be pulling any of that fiddly shit here, okay? We're not.
Well, at this point,
did you get out of the car and give him shit? I mean, did you give him a reason to arrest you? Like,
no. The reason he pulled me over was because my blinker didn't blink on my trailer on the driver's side now.
Okay.
Then he went on the fishing expedition, as they always do.
We had stuff stolen out of the truck.
You had stuff stolen out of the truck when?
About $18,000 from the police safe. They said that they didn't seize it, but it's not there.
So what specifically?
$18,000 cash.
Oh, like cash.
Yeah. Yep. He was going over to buy a side-by-side.
Okay.
Never made it. The money disappeared, so that's how the money
All right.
All
right, well, what I don't want to have happen though, Lionel, is I ask him a question and you answer. All right? And that's kind of like, I want to get independent stories. Like, if he tells me something, here's something. This is a reason why I want to do it individually too. If I ask him a question, and he says, hey, I was doing this on this day, and I would say, okay, who can verify that? He says, Lionel. Well, you're sitting right here, and you're going to say, yeah, he was there. But then to me, it's like, you've been coached on what to say, right?
I get that.
So, my goal is not to bind you up in anything beyond just the opportunity to sit down and talk. And I understand you don't trust cops, but
Not all of them. I have some that I know they're pretty decent.
well, I hope that by the end of this interaction, you trust exactly what I'm telling you, because I'm not bullshitting about anything. My only goal is to talk to you about Dylan, his disappearance, find out who's responsible for it.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
It's less than ideal for you, but I'm sorry. I'm going to be here.
All right, it's going to look really bad, though, if he says something and you're the only person that can verify it. And then your dad remains...
Well, it won't be that way because he's really not here. He's down in his place.
Where do you live?
I live down the street.
What's your address?
I don't know my exact address, if I'm honest. I don't. I have stuff shipped here, so...
Gotcha. But you live here in town?
Yeah, I live in town.
All right.
Despite a somewhat shaky beginning to their discussion, Lionel and the detective ultimately find common ground, demonstrating mutual respect throughout the remainder of their exchange. Lionel's intentions were to safeguard his father, and the detective effectively worked to restore their trust. Meanwhile, in Lucin, the detectives discover that there is an active arrest warrant for James Brenner related to an aggravated assault.
There's really nothing we're going to do about it. And this shit was, the detective down here the other day asked me, what about the report? I said, there was never a report done. There's a warrant for your arrest. I'll let you know about it right now. From Maryland? So we're going to pick you up and take you to jail with us. Oh, God damn it. So what I want you to do, I know before you talk, you place your hands on your head for me.
Interlock your fingers. Okay.
I got a knife in my pocket.
Right. And
Okay.
he said he's wondering about your dog. Bring it back. I wanted to talk to you. Exactly.
I got you.
That's a big boy.
The detectives escort Brenner to the sheriff's department, where they utilise the time in the interview room to question him regarding Dylan's disappearance.
Okay, timeline. My buddy Don likes to cook. I like to eat. And I usually buy a roast or rack of ribs or something, and bring it over there. We either throw it on a barbecue grill or he cooks it, and he's a good cook. So that Saturday night, there was a movie on that I wanted to watch. So I had brought some ribs over there, and I left the farm about, I'd say between 1 and 2. I wear a watch, but the only time I look at it is when I need to know what time it is, really. And I was in my own little world there. I'm trying to build a chicken coop in that barn and everything. And so I left, and I went over to the pond, and I got a little bit of wood, and I got some water. That's where I get my wood and water. And I figured it's on the way over to his place. And then I was over there, and we had cooked the ribs, and then we watched some stuff, watched the show on TV, and I come back it was about 9 o'clock, because it was dark, but it was still light.
It was heading towards it, right?
Yeah, I can still see, and I come up over the hill, and there's the grain truck in the shop. Now, Dylan's the type of kid that just does whatever the hell he wants and doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
And so, and it had been raining, and I went up I said, oh shit, I knew it was raining. I knew what he wanted. And he moved all my stuff out of the way, and he backed that in there because it had a load of Tetracal on it, Tetracal, whatever you call it. You didn't want to get wet. So I didn't think much more of it, and so Don called me up the next day and asked me if I had seen Dylan. I said, no, I haven't seen him. I said, he was here. And I had noticed there was tracks coming down the driveway. I normally don't use the front gate. I have no reason to, because Don lives the other way, so I go out in and out the back gate. But there was a set of tracks coming in from the 10-wheeler, and there was another set of tracks leaving. So I went up. Dylan has a habit of not closing a gate. And I went up there, and I had it locked too. So he had taken the wires off the bottom, pulled it out, and then left the chain hanging there. And then when he left, somebody left, they wired it back up, and they closed the gate. So that's why I kept saying, he didn't walk, he left. He closed the gate when he went out.
Okay.
James goes through his timeline of events, telling the detectives he left his property around 1 p.m. on the day Dylan disappeared. At 3 p.m. he went to Donald Hatley's for dinner and returned home at 9 p.m. where he noticed the grain truck within the barn. This indicates that Dylan parked the grain truck at Brenner's while Brenner was away. Brenner spends the remaining of the interview discussing the theories about who could be responsible. However, the detectives are going to propose an idea that he may not appreciate.
So why do you think nobody's telling us anything?
Because they're all tweakers.
Well, like nobody's really telling us anything. I don't think we've gotten a straight story from anyone at all.
What about me?
Well, that's to be determined.
I mean, well, a lot of what I'm telling you, Kurt's going to tell you the same thing, if you can get him in a coherent place. But...
Is there any reason anyone would say you did it?
What's that?
Is there any reason anyone would say you did it?
I'd like to know why. I've been hearing some shit on Facebook about how me and Don wanted him out of the way because so we'll have the farm. That farm is in his grandfather's name. And first of all, I've known Larry for 2 years. He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. If I did this, I'd be one sick son of a bitch.
The detectives are now going to ask Brenner about Dylan's boots being found near his property, to where he admits to something suspicious.
So that first day that I went out there, I talked to you.
Yeah.
You remember we were talking. I was talking about the grain trucker and all that, and you had mentioned the boots to me, right? The boots they found. You brought that up.
Yeah.
So how do those tie into this, do you think? Because, I mean, that's weird. That's not something normal, right? They're just out there, because there's no, like, trail out there. You know what I mean?
Well, they were...
So tell me what you know about that. Or, like, because that's just a weird situation. But still, like, it just, you know, I mean, someone would have to walk out there. You can't just throw them that far, right?
Yeah.
There were no tracks going to them. Like, vehicle tracks, tire tracks, right? So, I mean, it just, that is really odd that they would be there, you know? Because they had to get there somehow, and you would think there would be some kind of tracks or something that would lead them to there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know there's boots and clothing laying around all over the place over there, and maybe they just threw them and figured they'd blend, I don't know.
What are we gonna find DNA-wise on your boots? We're gonna find your DNA on them?
If I picked them up, you'll probably find my fingerprints.
Did you pick them up?
I pick up, my fingerprints on everything out there.
I know, but did you pick his boots up?
I did pick a boot up that day and throw it. I walked out there to check on my horse, and there was a boot laying there.
Was that the same one as what we found when we were there?
I didn't see the boots that you found.
Okay.
But I know it was over in that general direction.
Well.
So that day you picked the boots up and you threw it?
One of those days.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, you know, a lot of the stuff that's come out in this case, there's plenty of stuff. If we were just going like that, there's a lot of stuff that points at you. A lot of stuff with this case.
Why?
Okay?
Why?
If you were asked if you had your DNA on something at your house, would you ever say, I'm not sure? Or would you just, I mean, I know what I've touched at my house. And if you had someone else's boots at your house, and you're saying your DNA might be on them, that's not normal at all.
I didn't say my DNA was on it. I'm saying my
if your fingerprints are going to be on it, your DNA is going to be on it.
Yes, it's the same thing.
I mean, I might have picked them up and moved them. I don't know. That whole place, I touch things.
While the detectives are confused by James's statements, they also suggest an additional element that they struggle to believe.
Did you and Dawn talk about what you were going to say to us? Because your stories are identical, almost to the T, and the shit like that just doesn't come up. There's always somebody's off on the story.
Well, we're telling you the truth about Dylan.
Karen told me that she talked to Dylan Saturday morning, and it was going to rain, so he'd call her back when he got the rain shut under cover.
Okay. He called?
No, I think Karen called him, or he called Karen, I don't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what bothered her. She said, you know, he always called me right back.
Yeah.
She called him, they spoke in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, Jim come over to my place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for dinner.
Yeah.
He left about 9. Next day, was when Karen called me and asked me to come out here and look around and see if I could find Dylan. And I did. Well, on the way out, I talked to Jim on the phone. He said, yeah, Dylan must have come in while I was gone last night. The grain truck's in the shed. He moved all my crap out of the way.
Following Don's timeline of events, which aligns seamlessly with Brenner's, the detective is about to reveal information which contradicts the narrative they are being presented.
We're just really trying to nail down a timeline of those events.
Yeah.
And we're getting some information, but sometimes a little bit hard to believe.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to hide things from you or be dishonest with you, but there's some things that are being told to us that just they don't quite match up with what phone data tells us and where people were, when they talk to people. Like when they talk to people, their location will show up, and it's not really matching up with what we're being told necessarily.
An analysis of new evidence concerning Dylan's phone location suggests that he arrived at Brenner's property at 6:49 a.m. to park the grain truck. In contrast, Brenner informed detectives that Dylan must have arrived between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. while he was at Don's residence.
You told me before that you must have talked to him before you came out on Sunday, because he said that Dylan must have been over there, and because the grain truck was there. What's really hard is that grain truck and that activity happened before he came to your place. That activity happened before 3 o'clock.
Oh, really?
100%.
Oh, shit. What the fuck is up?
That activity, Dawn, all of it happened before 3 o'clock.
Well, this ain't fucking. I already cut out going to Montello. Now I ain't going to see Jim anymore this week.
So, I appreciate your cooperation, but it puts you in a little bit of a bad spot.
I've been honest with you, man. You check my phone records, I showed you the text. I don't know. They're saying before 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So that's why I say, Don, I appreciate being pleasant, and by no means do I mean disrespect, but I got to do my job and ask hard questions.
I understand that. I just you just fucking floored me here.
Okay.
Because I totally believe Jim. I mean, and I know he was at my house at 3 o'clock.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, from talking to from Dylan's grandma that, hey, I talked to him early morning on Saturday and he needed to get his grain truck under the shed. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
He's going to Jim's property. That was like 6 in the morning. 7 in the morning, something like that. So, if that's what Dylan's doing, I mean, you didn't think I guess you didn't know at that time that he had called her. You didn't know until the next day, or did you?
No, I didn't know until the next day when she called me, late afternoon.
From that conversation, did you know when Dylan was working on that?
Working on what?
Getting his grain truck on the shed?
No, I figured sometime Saturday he was, gonna she said get it under cover. She didn't say the shed. I'm pretty sure she said needed to get the grain truck under cover.
Is there any chance that Dylan goes over to Jim's house and Jim doesn't know about it?
Possibly. Early in the morning, yeah.
How about if he's there for an hour? Is Jim going to know about it?
I don't know.
How about if he's there for 6 hours? Is Jim going to know?
Oh, I'm sure he'd know about it.
Jim's not going to stay in that trailer for 6 hours starting at 7 o'clock in the morning?
No, he'd go outside and do something.
He's there with a grain truck or his truck or moving around. Jim's going to know.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Furthermore, Dylan's phone location indicates that the cell phone continued to move around Brenner's property until it travelled to Lucin Pond at 2:37 p.m, with the final timestamp for the phone's location ending at 2:53 p.m. Although Don appears to be telling the truth, detectives warn Don about the repercussions if he is found to be withholding information. Following this, Don discloses a shocking detail.
I would like to think that you're being honest with us, because I'd like to think that everybody is being honest with us. I will give you the same admonition I would give anybody else, is that if you're withholding information or if you're not telling us the truth, A, now is the time, and B, if it continues, you know that at this point, if you have information that we would need to know, or that you're not telling us the truth, at this point it would be hindering our investigation. You understand that?
Yeah.
I assume, right?
Well, I'll tell you something.
Okay.
And I really don't think it has anything to do with anything. You guys found ammunition and stuff at Jim's.
Yeah.
And he's a black powder enthusiast.
Yep.
But he figured that would be a reason to poke him, so to speak, say whatever. So he brought his black powder rifles over to my place.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where are those?
Well, I put one behind my bed, in my bedroom, and the other one's leaned up in the corner next to the table on the couch.
When did he bring them? After Dylan.
Oh yeah, definitely after.
Why?
Basically safety. That's what he told me. Last time, you know, they had him in holding for over a year, and when he got out, everything he had was gone. Everything.
Don tells the detectives that due to James being a convicted felon, he is restricted from possessing firearms. He states that Brenner had brought over the firearms due to the police presence. When Don hands them over, they notice that they match the powder, caps and ammunition that have been seized from Brenner's property. Due to this new information, James is brought in for a voluntary polygraph examination.
This test is about to begin. Please remain still. Is the door closed?
Yes.
Regarding Dylan's disappearance, do you intend to lie to me on this test?
No.
Prior to this exam, did you sign a consent form?
Yes.
Did you lie to me about the extent of your alcohol use?
No.
Did you have contact with Dylan that day?
No.
Have you ever allowed your temper to make you lose control?
No.
Do you know where Dylan is now?
No.
After analysing the results, the examiner has found indications that suggest Brenner is being deceptive towards having contact with Dylan on the 28th of May and knowing his current whereabouts.
Come on in. Yep, come on in. What? You guys can come in and talk a little bit about it, but what I'm saying, Jim, is that I don't think that you're a bad guy that has...
No, you're not saying I'm a murderer.
I'm saying that there is... No, I'm not saying you're a murderer. The questions were about contact with him that day. I know you had contact with Dylan that day, and I know that you have some idea of where he's at, but it's something totally uncharacteristic.
I
don't think, unless it's something I don't know about you, I don't think that's.
But I'm the only guy sitting here talking with a lie detector.
Well, honestly, if necessary, we will put every single person we can on this. So the fact that you came down and did this speaks to, like, you know, it's incredibly helpful to this investigation. The problem is that you're being deceptive. And like I told you when I first met you, I wasn't going to lie to you, and I haven't lied to you, and neither is anybody else in this room. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things, okay? When we talked to you on Thursday, I said we had good information that Dylan was on your property the morning of the 28th from about 6:50 in the morning until about 2:30, 2:40 in the afternoon. And the reason we know that is because he had called you the night before, on the 27th, around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, because, and that was, yeah.
And he talked to me?
No, it was a missed call.
Yeah.
It was a missed call, and that kind of goes against your protocol. If you want to get a hold of me, text me, because...
You don't answer your phone.
Right.
That's fair. Like you know, typically you don't ever answer.
We know in the morning, we know that we know this because when you have a cell phone and it is on, it is in constant communication with whatever cell towers it connects to the network with. And those cell phone towers are able to give a location of where that phone is located. And we know that between roughly 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. on the morning of the 28th, he's over, that phone and Dylan are over by his property. We know that he calls your phone at about 6:30 in the morning as he's coming up to your property.
6:27.
Probably to ask you to come out and unlock the gate, but because he didn't text and he calls instead, he then, more than likely, jimmied the gate, which you said he had done anyway. And then we know, because his phone is on your property for the better part of the day until about 2:30 in the afternoon, and then we know we can follow the phone taking the back road out, which is the way that you traveled. There's a roughly 2-minute period of time where that phone is stationary right where that gate is on the back, and then it continues to the Lucin ponds. And I want to tell you something. On Saturday, scuba divers located that phone in the pond, and I've got a photograph of it if you think I'm full of shit. I'm not lying to you about anything, man. And first of all, that's the phone, okay? And it was collected on Saturday afternoon out of the Lucin ponds, and it was collected from, you can see in this picture right here, there's a guy pointing to where the phone was found. It was about a foot of water. There's the pipe where the water comes from. And we know, based on your own story, and we're going to shore that up too, that's the route of travel that you told us you took at about, to go over to Haley's for ribs. So you're lying to us about Dylan being on your property on the 28th and you saying you're not aware of it. We know that he was on the property. And there's no way in hell with his moving back and forth on that property on the day of the 28th that you wouldn't know. And you sure as hell would know if that phone is traveling out the property with you. So what Dave has suggested, and what we believe, is that something happened that maybe you didn't intend to happen, but something happened to Dylan. Maybe you got in a fight with him, maybe it started with an argument because he didn't follow the protocol.
He's kind of an egotistical kid. He's a bit of a prick sometimes.
He comes onto your property without texting. He opens the gate, fucks up the lock, leaves the gate open. You're very particular about your horse, your dog, people coming onto the property and stealing shit. But he's on your property at 6:50 in the morning with that grain truck. And we also know that he backs up and fucks up some of your stuff inside that shed. That's got to piss you off. And something happened. And Dylan's phone is on that property, and we know that he's there because he calls his grandma at 6:50 in the morning and says, I'm taking the truck to the shed. I got to get it, under the shed before it starts raining. So, listen, we understand that you like Dylan. We understand that you respect him. We understand that you also have a temper. And I think your temper took control of you, and something happened that you didn't intend to happen. I don't know what happened, but here's your opportunity to tell the story. And I also know that after all this shit happened, you took some black powder rifles and a gun, and you gave them to Haley. All right? Here is your opportunity. If you care at all for this kid or this family,
at least give them
the closure they need so they can go and bury their son appropriately. I see tears welling up in your eyes right now.
Although the detectives continue to interrogate Brenner, he denies having any involvement with Dylan's disappearance. Whilst the detectives continue to analyse James's phone data, Don Hatley is also brought in for questioning.
So, is there any reason, in your opinion, or that you, from what you're aware of, that you feel like James would have ever hurt Dylan?
If he lost his temper, he could have.
Okay. What about the shed?
What about it?
So, the deal with the shed, from what, like I said, I'm only going off what I've been told, that's all I got. When I talked with Brenner, and we talked about the shed, you could tell when we talked about the gate, you could tell when he talked about the shed that he was pretty irritated by it. He obviously didn't fly off the handle, but this isn't a place where people usually fly off the handle, right, for the most part. So I could tell that he didn't like that, he didn't like, for instance, I believe it was on the 28th, instead of getting a hold of Jim, Dylan just took the gate apart on the other side and drove the grain truck in there.
Yeah.
Is that something that would piss Jim off?
Yeah.
Very much?
Yeah.
Okay. And then one thing that Jim said to us was that I asked him if Dylan usually kept the grain truck in there, and Brenner made the statement of, I didn't clean that shed out so he could put his grain truck in there. I cleaned it out so that me and Don would have a place to work. At that point, do you think, was he pissed off that Dylan was parking in there? Because it seems like there's some tension there. Brenner wants this and he wants that.
Because, Dylan and I talked about that shed, and I said, we need to get that cleaned out so I can work on some of the stuff out of the weather. Nah, don't worry about it. There was a little friction between both of them.
Did they ever say anything, or could you just tell?
Oh, they made snide remarks.
Gotcha.
Dylan, I think, chuckled a few times when Jim got mad about, stuff like that. But
Did Brenner like Dylan?
He didn't like a lot of the shit Dylan pulled because Dylan's a kid and Jim...
He's going to do kid stuff.
Exactly. They stayed in a motel room for a month and a half up in Idaho when they were doing beets and potatoes. And Jim said, man, I don't know how he does it. He's a slob. He turns the TV up full blast at 3 o'clock in the morning and all kinds of crap. They weren't best buddies. They weren't good friends like Dylan and I.
Gotcha.
According to Don, tensions were escalating between Brenner and Dylan due to several factors, such as the arrangements concerning using the barn to park his grain truck. The detectives are also investigating whether Brenner had any assistance in the disposal of Dylan's body.
If, say, Brenner is the one that hurt Dylan, what do you think he would have done with his body?
That's just it. I don't think I don't know, because I really didn't think he would have the means or the wherewithal to dispose of him. But I don't know. Like I said, I found out he's lied to me several times, and it's like...
Is there anybody he'd call to help him get rid of it, that he would trust enough for that?
No, I don't think so.
No? Well, because you were close to him, obviously. I'm not saying you did it, but it didn't sound like he was close to very many people.
No.
Although there is no evidence to suggest that Don was involved, some interesting information would later surface, causing detectives to become suspicious. In the meantime, the detectives have finished analysing both Brenner's and Dylan's phone, where they discover something shocking. On Dylan's phone, they discover a video taken on the 28th of May showing Brenner cleaning one of his guns. More disturbing is the bloodstains observed on his arm and shirt. Detectives believe that Brenner had accidentally pressed record when placing the phone down after killing Dylan. A forensic analysis of the shirt would be conducted, which was determined to contain Dylan's DNA. Interestingly, Brenner had also asked an unusual question regarding Dylan's boots when they were first discovered.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't any blood or anything on them, was there?
I don't know.
These boots were found to have Dylan's blood on them, as well as containing Brenner's DNA. When Brenner's phone location was analysed, they were found to match the location and direction that Dylan's phone had travelled on the 28th of May. Additionally, during the forensic examination of the barn, numerous photographs were captured of locations that exhibited possible blood spatter and stains, including a suspected bullet hole in the barn's side.
We begin with breaking news. Police name a suspect in a missing person case of Dylan Rounds. Rounds is the 19-year-old who has been missing since May 28th. His family finding his grain farm in Lucin abandoned. Just minutes ago, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office says James Brenner is a suspect. Brenner is already being held in the Weber County Jail on unrelated federal firearm charges.
As discussed earlier, some interesting information would later surface, which implicated Donald Hatley.
When you keep saying they, who's the other person?
I don't know. That's what he says. It has
But
to be.
he says that. Does he say he had another person, or what does he tell you in that regard?
Because you're not necessarily saying that he's saying that he did these things. It's like he's saying that they did it.
He's saying that there had to be. He says, yeah, somebody set that evidence up. He didn't touch it. He didn't touch the truck, so on and so on. But see, he had to have somebody with him. Dylan had to have somebody with him. But then he'll tell me he's got something you guys want, so you're going to make a deal with him, or he's going to sit here and rot for 5 years. But the only other person that he's implicated was Don, some dude named Don.
How did he implicate him?
He implicated him that he was his best friend, and him and Don, Dylan owed him and Don a whole bunch of money or something.
Okay.
And they didn't ever get paid.
In addition to James's cellmate informing the detectives of Don's involvement, a witness also reported observing something intriguing on Don's property.
I was going to come down today to show pictures of Don Hatley's property. I was on there the other day helping him move. I don't know if you know, but he's moving.
Yeah.
I was looking around the ground when my husband was with him, and I know he's a hunter, and I'm not, and I can't distinguish between animal and human bones, but there were a whole bunch of bones, probably about 7 or 8 pieces that I saw. They were just like strewn about the gravel, and I took video of them, and he does have a dog, so the dog was chewing on them.
Given this information, and following a forensic analysis of the bones, Don was called in for a subsequent interview.
Like I told you, it's getting ready to come to court to a prelim, but there were some things I wanted to talk with you about, to go through with you. Some of the stuff that we found, like I had explained to you when I gave you the paperwork when we served that search warrant on your house, on your property. You had mentioned it. There were some bones that were listed in the bone, and you said that they were bones you tossed to the dog, stuff like that. So the reason that I'm here is that one of those bones tested positive to be male human DNA.
No shit.
On your property.
Holy crap.
Yep.
That son of a bitch.
So, that's what we want to talk to you about and see what you know, because that's obviously a big deal.
Fucking Jim.
Well, and so there's also been some other stuff that's come about. And we've had reports from people, and as far as Brenner saying stuff, that essentially has told us or alluded to us that you may know more about it than what you were giving me when we first talked.
No. Honestly,
because I just want to.
I was shocked.
I just want to help the family out the best I can, and
me too.
You know, and if you know anything at all, like now's a good time to do it, so we can, you know, work with us, so we can work with you, type of thing.
I don't know.
Because yeah, like it was by the burn barrel that you guys have out there. There were two of them, and it was there, and it was definitely human DNA. Right now, it's being tested, but either way, you know, there was a human bone on your property, right? So, obviously that leads us to want to come in and talk to you further, you know, I mean, because if there's anything that you know, working with us now is the very best thing you can do.
I don't remember if it was you or Jeff asked me, is there any chance that Jim put anything in my burn barrel? I'm going, well, I never brought his trash over to dump in my barrel, but he could dump stuff in, you know, he had some wrappers or something, so he might have done that. I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, so here's where we're at and what we have evidence-wise, right? We do have the bone that was on your property. We have had more than one report that when Brenner gave you the guns, he told you why he was giving them to you. He told you he was giving them to you because of murdering Dylan. I'm just telling you what the evidence that I have and what we've been told. Okay, so that's what that had come about, was that, you know, you knew why he was actually giving you the guns. He had mentioned that he was trying to keep you out of it, but he also mentioned that you knew what happened, and that you assisted him in getting rid of the body.
What?
I'm just telling you the evidence we have. This is what we have been given. This is what he said. It's what just reports that we've got, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to talk to you.
Holy shit.
I mean, I'm not looking to arrest you.
He's trying to drag me into this shit.
Regardless of what we talk about, I'm not arresting you or anything. You're leaving here either way. But, you know, obviously he's the one we want. But if you do know anything, you know, because there were some interesting things that did come about. You know, you guys talked a ton after the accident happened, which could just be coincidence. It does happen. But your guys' phone calls to each other went, like, doubled almost the amount of time you guys talked. One of the really big things that had been brought up was, and I think we even talked about it, but when, you know, after he had done this, after he had murdered Dylan, he came to your place and had ribs and stuff. And it's really hard to grasp that he would have just been acting like every normal day Jim.
That freaks me out to this day.
Because
it be that cold.
I don't know that, well, and that's just it, you know, and that's why we're here. Because that doesn't look good in any way. Because it would be very, very rare that someone would be able to do something like that and not even act different when he came and spent that time with you. Well, like I said, I mean, I wanted to come and tell you the information that we do have and give you an opportunity to help us out if you could, and help yourself out if you could. If that was it.
If I could, I would. Really.
So, I talked to the county attorney, and with all the information we have and everything going on, they're willing to offer you a deal. And the deal is this. It is, we don't think you killed Dylan, okay? So we're not here because we think you killed him.
Well, I know I didn't, so.
But with all of the evidence, we think you're involved somehow, whether it's you knew about it, whether you helped, whatever else. So the deal that's on the table currently is if you give us information and the deal is signed, you will never be charged in this case for anything at all.
You'd be 100% immunity.
100% immunity from everything. Because right now, with the bone being on your property, if it comes back being Dylan's, that could be a charge for you.
What charge?
It could be desecration of the body,
Obstruction.
obstruction of justice.
How, wait a minute. You'd have to prove that I desecrated a body or I obstructed justice, which I know I didn't.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're telling me things that could be, but,
well, and I'm not
to be
the
honest with you
attorney.
right now,
Yeah.
I am 100% totally innocent of any, I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
You know, I'm not gonna sign anything saying anything any other ways.
No, you wouldn't be signing to admit anything. It would just be if information that you have that maybe you're not sharing with us. And again, I think of myself in your position. If my friend came up to me and then said, "Hey, I just killed someone, I need your help," I'm probably going to help them because I'm scared they're going to kill me. And if that's the situation you were in, that changes things as well. And that's why the deal's on the table, because we want to make sure that we get justice for Dylan and we get justice for his family and that we find where he is. That's ultimately what our goal is. It's not to put you in jail, but we want to get there the way that we can get there, and right now that's the deal that we have. And that's what
I've
I was
been
supposed to tell you.
100% honest with you guys.
Okay.
From the beginning. I mean,
Well, I'm just letting you know, if there's anything else that you can think of that would help us
We're just doing our job. We're just
finish this
explaining.
case, that's the deal that the county attorney wanted me to let you know, because if there's anything that's scaring you about it, about telling us, if there's anything you're worried about, anything like that, I just want you to know that it all goes away.
Yeah, so essentially what they would do is the deal itself would just be that we can't prosecute you for anything involving this case.
Ever.
At all, ever.
well,
Even if it came out in 10 years that you were the one that did it, which I'm not saying you did,
you know,
but even if that was the case, we couldn't even charge you in 10 years if we found out it was 100% you.
well,
That's all it means.
So like I said, Don, we got a job we gotta do.
you know, I know, but I got no involvement in this, other than that I knew both parties. And it pisses me off that one killed the other. And it pisses me off even worse that the son of a bitch that did it, disposing of parts at my house, coming to my house and acting totally fucking normal, it pisses me off.
Subsequent to the interview, Don chose not to sign a deal and stated to the detectives that he was not involved in nor aware of Dylan's disappearance. Although the remains were classified as human, and with some information about their identity existing, we have been unable to identify any reliable sources that can definitely confirm who they belong to. While there was some circumstantial evidence suggesting that Don Hatley might have had knowledge of the situation, this has not been conclusively proven, and James Brenner has been identified as the only perpetrator. With Brenner officially arrested for murder, Dylan's grandfather pleaded with James via the prison's email service, asking him to disclose the location of Dylan's remains. As part of a plea deal on April the 9th, 2024, James Brenner would take detectives to a shallow dug grave in the middle of the Lucin desert, where Dylan would be recovered 2 years after his disappearance. In court, James Brenner pled guilty, and as part of his plea deal, he was sentenced to 3 to 30 years in prison. To this day, Dylan's mother Candice continues to advocate for missing persons and continues to support the families. Aidan Clune, who went missing shortly before Dylan Rounds, who was previously mentioned within this case, has never been found.